Hello, magandang hapon po. Good afternoon to all of us. Welcome to our fourth video for this course operating system. We will be talking about security and operating systems. So, a sort of review during the previous topic that we discussed, we talked about and basic information about operating system. We demonstrated the steps on how to set up and how to install an operating system, how to do the partitioning, the importance of partitioning, and other information in relation to the operating system. So this afternoon we're going to talk about what are the services offered by the operating system and how security helps the computer system through the use of an operating system. So, learning objective. Identify the different consideration in installing operating system. Next is establish the importance of security and roles of operating system in the computer. The next is establish the importance of security and other features offered by operating system to your computer and your files. So these are the following objectives of the topic being presented. Next is security and operating system. So what is an operating system security? Okay. How the operating system contribute to the system security? Actually, operating system has a big role in securing your system. So alternatively, if we're trying to develop a secure system, what do we demand of the OS? So today's lecture concentrates on the OS can, should, or does do. Okay. What is the role of this operating system to our computer? So we will be talking about security. Okay, what is security? Security refers to providing protections to the system or to the computer system. Resources such as CPU, memory, disk, software programs, and most importantly, data or information stored in the computer system. So in general, security is very important, or security stands for a very important role in our computer system, because security features in the operating system is helping, of course, our information being stored to the computer, the applications being installed in the computer, and the hardware that is responsible for the processing of the data. Okay, we have informal security. So informal security is keeping unauthorized entities from doing things you don't want them to do. So that is informal. More formal is confidentiality. What is confidentiality? Reserving unauthorized restriction on information access and disclosure, okay, which is including way for protecting personal confidentiality and proprietary information. So confidentiality, that talks about the confidentiality of everything, the files, the restrictions of information. Okay, so breach of confidentiality, that refers to a thief of private or confidential information such as credit card numbers, trade secret, patents, secret formulas, manufacturing procedures, medical information, financial information, etc. So meaning it is now referring to the violation, okay, or an act of getting private or confidential information. So system integrity. When it is designed, implemented, and maintained to protect itself against unauthorized access, and thus so to the extent that security controls specified for that system cannot be compromised. All right. So integrity. So breach of integrity meaning unauthorized modification of data, which have a serious indirect consequence. So one example is a popular game or another program source code could be modified to open up security holes on user system before it is being released to the public. Okay, integrity meaning that should be maintained. So integrity refers to the quality of being honest and having a strong moral principle, or it is a state of being whole and undivided. So meaning system integrity, that is referring to the originality, okay, which is supposedly to be maintained to protect from unauthorized access, right? So availability means the probability that a system is operational at a given time. So the amount of time a device is actually operating as the percentage of total time should be operating. So meaning availability, meaning that is coming from the word available. Every time or anytime it is available. Okay? Breach of availability and unauthorized destruction of data, often just for the fun of causing havoc or and for bragging rights. So vandalism of the website is a common form of this violation. All right. So there are times that hacking occurs in a particular websites, which cause to the inavailability of the contents. So that is breach of availability. So what is the operating system role? So one internal roles, first is security. Okay, we're talking already about security, how the operating system helps securing our files, our hardwares, and our applications. Control over system performance. Job accounting. Operating system is also helping on the process of the instructions being performed or being executed by the processor. Error detecting aids, right? Error detecting aids. Coordination between other software and users. So operating system is actually trying to facilitate the communication between user software and the hardware. So that is trying to mediate the process. Okay, we have memory management, we have processor management, we have device management. So these management are actually found in the features of an operating system's function. So operating system protecting whom? Okay, what is the main role of an operating system? It is actually protecting to us as a user. It is actually protecting the programs, the files, and also the hardware. So the operating system manages resources and ensure that the software and hardware can communicate with each other, which includes processor scheduling, determining an order in which process will be executed, which allows for multitasking. So the operating system has that capacity to serve as a mediator between the hardware as the processor and the programs to be processed. Okay, that is processor scheduling. So internal features protect the operating system against user. This is the necessary but not sufficient. So file permission protect user and the OS against other users. So file permission and internal features is actually protecting the operating system against the user or the other users. So user authentication. Authorization is the process of giving someone permission to do or have something. In multi-user computer system, a system administrator defines for the system which users are allowed to access to the system and what privileges of the use, such as access to which file directories or access amount of allocated storage space and so on and so forth. So that is authorization, meaning it is giving an authority on what particular function you can do as a user, right? Every user has a limitation to its function that is depending on the level of the user. So that is can be provided through the use of or through the help of the operating system. So user authentication is a method that keeps an authorized user from accessing sensitive information. Okay? For example, user A has the access to relevant information and cannot be seen or cannot see the sensitive information of user B. Okay? So a user authentication, that is to verify whether the one that you are using, I'm talking about the accounts, is actually you. Alright? So cyber criminals can gain access to a system and steal information when user authentication is not secure. Okay? Authenticity. Okay? So something you know about password. So password is very common. Password is very easily guessed. That is depending on the level of security imposed in your password. Originality is stored in plain text, but that's a very bad idea. So today's passwords are usually stored hashed. However, some network authentication schemes such as challenge response require plain text or equivalent. So hashed password, what is hashed password? Or what is hashing? Hashing performs a one-way transformation of a password, turning the password into another string called hashed password. So one way means that it is practically impossible to go the other way to turn the hash password back into its original. So meaning that is one way of hashing is actually one way of converting your original password into another value, which is using the different or a specific algorithm to transform your password into a hashed password, which could not be easily. So why are password hashed? Why are password hashed? Hashing password is the most common approach to storing password securely. Hashing a password is good because it is quick and easy to store. Instead of storing the user's password as plain text, which is one open for anyone to read, it is stored as hash, which is impossible for human to read. So the conversion of your password will also follow on the algorithm that is applied on converting that particular password of yours into a password that could impossibly read by the user or the human being. Alright, so attackers can still run password guessing programs, so most operating systems use access control to protect hashed password. So aside from that, operating system is also offering security features, that is to protect us and our file. So challenge response authentication. What is this? It is, in its simplest form, challenge response authentication is composed of two basic components. One is question and a response. Goal of the question or challenge is to require response that only authorized user will know. User that successfully answer the question are allowed to access whatever digital materials the challenge response authentication mechanism is safeguarding. Okay, so this can be compared to, let's say for example, to a browser, that sometimes a browser is actually asking us to to answer some questions before we can uh, get into the interface or for your accounts for verification. Okay, so there are some questions that will be asked to you to validate whether your answer during the creation of your account is equal or more or less the same with your answer in the verification. So your mother's maiden name doesn't qualify. So if the user has calculating ability, do it cryptographically. So the server knows PW and sends random number n. Both sides calculate FPWN where F is something like an encryption algorithm. Okay, so this is now a simple an algorithm that trying to be used for authentication or for to verify the authenticity of your account. So static challenges are requests that can be satisfied using the same answer or process every time. So static challenge includes the password recovery questions one needs to answer to verify identity. Alright, so common example is password for the lock screen on smartphone. So another example is what I'm talking about is the account. Okay, account for your Gmail, account for your Facebook. Okay, so dynamic challenges requires different answers with each attempt. Often the challenges themselves randomly change and the user is expected to respond. So the human element or humans are incapable of securely storing high quality cytographic keys and they have unacceptable speed and accuracy when performing cytographic operation. Of course, human beings are actually different compared to the machine. Okay, when it comes to speed, comes to accuracy. They are also large, expensive to maintain, so difficult to manage, and they pollute the environment. So that is human. Okay, human is actually very important in the computer system, but then we are only there just to let the computer to function. But when it comes to the security of information, uh, security of hardware and lot, that is the role of an operating system. So token. What is token? Token is used to make security decision and store tamper-proof information about some system entity. So an access token is generated by the log-on service when a user logs on to the system, and the credential provided by the user are authenticated against the authentication database. So that is the token. So software token is a piece of two-factor authentication security device that may be used to authorize the use of computer services. It is actually stored on a general purpose electronic device such as desktop computer, laptop PDAs, or mobile phone and can be duplicated. So that is a software token. So when it comes to biometrics, as we all know that biometrics are one of the most effective way of uh, protecting our devices, especially for unauthorized access. No, fingerprint readers are becoming common. So biometrics generally have false positive rate and false negative rate. Be careful on how you set your parameters. So this is fingerprint is also widely used for security access. Okay. Attack techniques. What is an OS attack? So OS commanding is a method of attacking a web server by remotely gaining access to the operating system and then executing system commands through browser. Okay. So what are the different types of attacks? Operating system attacks, misconfiguration attacks, application level attacks, shrink wrap code attacks, man in the middle, phishing and spear phishing attacks, drive-by attack, and password attack. So these are the different techniques, or what these are the different attacks. So others are actually trying to attack or penetrate our system with the use of different virus. Okay, let's say for example the Trojan horses. Okay, as we all know the story about Trojan horse. Okay, so that is actually to mimic. That is to pretend that this file is helpful, but then it has a different intention to your files or your system. So that is Trojan horses, login spoofing, and buggy software. So Trojan horse tricks someone into executing a program that does not nasty things. Okay. So Sandbox is an isolated testing environment that enables users to run programs or execute files without affecting the application. So system or platform which they run software developer use sandboxes to test the new programming code. Okay, that is Sandbox. A better idea for the OS is to provide sandboxes an environment where the program can execute but can't affect the rest of the machine. So sandboxing is actually trying or enabling the user to run the program, but it is actually protecting the actual application that are installed to your system. Login spoofing. Okay, login spoofing, this is one of the technique that is used to steal a user's password. So the user is presented with an ordinary looking login prompt from username and password, which is actually a malicious program, so-called the Trojan horse, under the control of attacker login. So there are some programs which are malicious program that are designed actually to get vital information, especially for your passwords. Okay, password that is trying to secure the access of a particular devices or a particular account, but then there are some programs created by a programmer which are malicious, that is the purpose is to spoof. Okay, to get something which are very important to be used for the access. Okay, a spoofing attack is when an attacker or a malicious program successfully act on another person on behalf by impersonating data. So common type of spoofing attacks include ARP spoofing, DNS spoofing, and IP address spoofing. Okay. Virus and worms. So viruses and worms. So these are very prone. We could really hear this. These are very common terms. No? These are very common terms that are usually being talked when it comes to computer. Okay. So computer virus, much like flu virus, it's like coronavirus, which is these viruses are actually a program that is being made by a programmer that is the intention is to damage. The intention is to get vital informations. Okay, so much like it is designed to spread from host to host and has the ability to replicate itself. So virus and worms are actually an executable programs that when you click or when you intend to click this file, this actually program will have to replicate itself. It will be giving additional information or additional instruction to your computer. Okay, that is one of the reasons why your computer will be become slower when it comes to processing, because it is already loaded with the different instruction to be processed by the processor. Others are actually getting vital information, or even worst is to damage your files and applications. So there are some time that our files or our application will not function well or will not function anymore because of it is infected by viruses. Okay. Viruses spread by themselves within a machine but require human intervention to infect other machines. So that's why it is very important that we are going to check, verify the files that we downloaded over the internet, the file that we want or the installer that we wanted to install to our computer system. And that is one of the reasons why when we install softwares to our system, the operating system will help us. Are you willing to proceed with the installation process or not? Or there are some times that it will inform us that this particular file is or has the capacity to infect our system, or this file may be harmful to your system. Do you want to proceed? So if you wanted to proceed, meaning you have the permission that this file will be infecting your system or will be installed to your system for whatever purpose. So worms spread between machines through they may require human assistance. Okay, so as a user, we have to be very careful. That is why, aside from the security being offered by the operating system, we as the user should have to take responsibility in setting or making our system to be safe and virus free. Okay, sometimes we need to install antivirus that is for security purposes and for maintaining the health of our system. What can the OS do to stop this? Okay. Sometimes hears that Windows is infested with these things because it has no effective file protection. So file protection will prevent OS contamination, but worms can do spread with user permission. So still that is depending on us. If the operating system is trying to protect and not allowing these particular suspicious files to be installed or to affect the different files in our computer system, but with the permission of the user, then computer has nothing to do with it. So blocking executables or executable. You can block exe files using two ways. Using path rule based on the name of the executable and its file extension. And all the versions of specified applications are blocked, okay, using path rule. Another is using hash value. After locating the executable on the server, the hash value of the executable is calculated. So operating system can try to block suspicious content. Why do you think the OS is correct? How good a job did the developers do? Were backdoors inserted by nasty developers? High levels of Orange Book demanded more assurance, including good documentation, structured design, formal test plan, and security cleared programmers. So, do you think OS is correct, or do you think OS is actually providing us what are the needs of the user? System log or logging. The system log or syslog contains a record of the operating system OS events that indicates how the system process and drivers were loaded. Okay? The system log shows informational error and warnings event related to the computer OS. So logging is a method of tracking and storing data to ensure application availability and to assess the impact of state transformations on performance. So that is logging. That is a way of tracking and storing data to ensure application availability. Monitoring is a diagnostic tools used for alerting developers or DevOps to system related issues by analyzing metrics. So what is going on with your system? That is monitoring. Okay, if there's a penetration, will you know? Will you be able to configure it out what happened? Okay, so that is part of monitoring. The real purpose of an operating system is to run certain application. So the purpose of an operating system is to run a certain applications. So whatever application being installed to your system, that will be facilitated by an operating system to communicate with the different parts of the hardware. So the issue isn't how secure are the OS, it's how secure the applications are. Alright, so again, most worms won't violate OS security. So the challenge, it is useful. Secure OS should make it easier to write secure application. Okay, a useful secure OS should make it easier to write a secure application. That means things like useful sandboxes need more flexible permission model. Okay, DAC or DAC is too simple and MAC is too restrictive. So we're now done with a discussion about operating system security and features. So guys, I just want you to answer the following questions. Okay, this will be provided to our LMS. We will be providing a specific section for the assessment for this for this lesson. So just read this question. Okay, so I guess everything is clear, and I will be posting this information, the presentation and a PDF file to our LMS. Just visit the LMS and then to review the video, just go to my channel, Jess Sams TV, for more information about the course operating system. We have 4 lessons being uploaded, or 4 videos being uploaded to my channel, and then you are free to review the contents and be ready for the final examination. So I guess that's all for this video. Thank you very much. God bless and stay safe, everyone.